My parents financially supported my sister's business while pushing debts onto me. Now, they want to reconnect with my daughter, but the shocking truth I revealed has changed everything. I never imagined I'd publicly write about this, but now I'm seeking advice online about family issues from strangers. My name is Lucy, and I'm 32 years old. For nearly 8 years, my relationship with my parents had been distant, but suddenly they're trying to enter my life again. I'm unsure how to handle this, so I desperately need a third party's opinion. To understand my background, knowing the environment I grew up in is essential. I was raised in a small town in Ohio. I am the eldest daughter, and when I was 2, my sister Vanessa was born. Vanessa was born a golden child, charming people naturally, excelling in sports, and being sociable and attractive. In contrast, I was shy and focused on my studies. My parents, especially my father, always showed more interest in Vanessa than in me. My father, once a high school football star, never let go of those glory days. He was thrilled to spend hours in the backyard teaching Vanessa the perfect spiral pass because she showed interest in sports. Meanwhile, I would read books on our porch. My mother wasn't as blatantly biased as my father, but she still favored Vanessa. While she praised Vanessa's drawings and displayed them on the refrigerator, she merely noted "well done, Lucy" on my report cards, which were all A's. I have a bitter memory from when I won first prize at a science fair at the age of 10. My project was related to renewable energy, and I eagerly anticipated showing it to my parents. However, they were preoccupied with celebrating Vanessa's acceptance onto the football team and overlooked my award. As time passed, the favoritism became even more apparent in high school. I was dedicated to my studies, joining the debate and math clubs, and I was determined to attend a prestigious university and become a doctor. Meanwhile, Vanessa effortlessly excelled with her charm and athletic abilities. She became a star quarterback, and her life was filled with dates with her boyfriend and parties almost every night. I vividly remember the events of our high school graduation night. I had been preparing my speech as the valedictorian for weeks. I stood on stage and searched for my family in the audience. My father was there, but he was busy taking photos of Vanessa. She was at the back, laughing and chatting with friends. My mother seemed a bit more attentive, but she was still focused on Vanessa. Even when I was accepted to a prestigious university, it felt like I was always overshadowed by my sister, even during my successes. I was initially thrilled to receive the acceptance letter, but that joy soon faded. Sitting in front of me, my parents said they couldn't support me financially. They thought they had savings, but unexpected expenses had left them short of funds. Shocked but resolute, I decided to manage my tuition myself, took out student loans, and worked part-time to get through college. It was tough, but I'm proud that I did it on my own. I juggled jobs as a tutor and library assistant, and during the summer I worked night shifts at a 24-hour diner. Sometimes I was so tired it was hard to keep my eyes open during classes, but I kept pushing through. Vanessa, on the other hand, decided college wasn't for her. She worked in a local garage during the day and spent her nights at bars or parties. My parents weren't particularly worried about her lifestyle, they just laughed and said, "That's Vanessa affirming her enjoyment of the present." In my final year of college, I learned a shocking fact. Vanessa had suddenly decided to start her own auto repair shop, and my parents were providing her with the full amount of startup capital, the same money they said they didn't have for my education. It was unbelievable. I had struggled with increasing student loans and had to choose between buying textbooks and having a decent meal, while my parents had secretly been saving that money for Vanessa. When I confronted them, they defended their choice. Their logic was that Vanessa didn't have a college degree and needed the money. They said I was smart and would make a good income as a doctor, so it wasn't a problem for me. They seemed unconcerned about the huge debt and stress I was under. That was my breaking point. After that, I completed my degree, went on to medical school, and cut off most contact with my family. Even when we interacted during major holidays, the conversations were brief and superficial. In my second year of medical school, without my parents' help, I vowed to succeed and focused on my studies. That's when I met Ben. He was a law student, intelligent and thoughtful. With him, I felt truly understood and valued for the first time. We started dating, and he became a strong supporter of mine. He always listened to my family issues and never criticized my decision to distance myself from them after graduation. Ben and I got married, moved to Seattle, and started a new life, distancing ourselves from the pain of my family's past. 2 years ago, we welcomed our daughter Nicole into the world, beginning a new chapter as parents. Nicole reminds me of my own childhood, and I've sworn to make her feel loved and supported, no matter what path she chooses. Currently, I'm succeeding in my career as an ophthalmologist. Ben is excelling in his sales job, and Nicole is a lively 2-year-old who brings us joy every day. Life is fulfilling, but the impact of my family's past betrayal still lingers. A few weeks ago, I had an unsettling conversation with my mother after a long time. She was crying on the phone. Vanessa's business had failed, and she had returned to live with my parents. She had made poor choices, accumulated debts, and was unemployed. Eventually, my parents were forced to mortgage their house to support her. Suddenly, they reached out, wanting to reconnect and hoping to meet their granddaughter. My father said he was proud of what I had achieved and wanted to make amends. Somewhere, I want to show gratitude for the upbringing my parents gave me. After all, they are still my parents, and I feel lonely being estranged from them. I worry about keeping Nicole away from her grandparents, but anger and pain well up in me from another angle. Disappointed in Vanessa, they seem to be seeking a source of pride, and now it seems to be directed at me. Ben has advised me to hear them out, but he prioritizes my safety and doesn't want me to get hurt again. He has offered to be by my side as support and a buffer when I talk to my parents. I'm torn between longing for my family and the need to protect myself from further pain. I'm afraid of letting my parents back into my life. If they hurt me again or use me as a financial crutch, how should I handle it? Now that Vanessa has fallen from grace, seeing Nicole makes me worry that my past might affect her future. Ultimately, I decided to meet my parents, suggesting a quiet cafe near my workplace without involving my husband or daughter initially. I wanted to hear my parents out first before introducing them to my family. The days leading up to the meeting were filled with anxiety, and I found myself snapping at Ben over trivial things, hardly sleeping the night before. After Nicole went to bed, I stayed in her room for a while, watching her peaceful sleeping face, pondering if my choices were correct. On the morning of the meeting, I arrived at the cafe earlier than scheduled and chose a corner seat to avoid being noticed. My parents were always late for school events, debates, science fairs, and graduation ceremonies. It was usually because of Vanessa. However, contrary to expectations, they arrived early this time. I saw them walking toward the cafe through the window. They looked older and more tired than before. My mother's hair was completely white, and my father's hair was thinner than before. Their shoulders were rounder, and we just looked at each other for a while after they entered the cafe. My mother approached me and hugged me tightly. At first, I was confused by her display of affection, but gradually I hugged her back. My father stood beside me, looking slightly uncomfortable. I urged them to sit and let them speak first. My mother did most of the talking. She admitted they had been unfair in the past and began with an apology. My father also expressed how proud he was of my achievements and regretted not supporting me more. Then, a surprising fact came to light. One reason they wanted to contact me was related to Vanessa's situation. Her business failure wasn't just bankruptcy, but debt caused by dubious dealings and gambling. To support her, my parents had to sell their vacation home and take out a second mortgage. Listening to them brought back many memories. Before I left for college, I had asked to borrow the vacation home for a week during the summer. At the time, they refused, saying they were using it, but I later found out that Vanessa and her friends had stayed there for a month. After quietly listening to their story, I took a deep breath and expressed my feelings candidly. I specifically mentioned how they had prioritized Vanessa's whims and overlooked my achievements. I spoke of the nights I cried myself to sleep and questioned why they hadn't supported me more during my university years. I had to sell the laptop my grandmother gave me as a graduation gift to cover the cost of textbooks, and I talked about the tiring nights I returned home from the cafeteria smelling of grease, while my parents supported Vanessa's lavish lifestyle. My father tried to justify their actions, but I stopped him. I reminded him of how he went to watch Vanessa's football game instead of my debate team's state championship win. While accepting their apologies, I told them that the long-standing hurts and past neglect wouldn't just disappear. If they wanted to mend our relationship, they would have to follow the conditions I set, which would require their time and effort. I also touched on Vanessa's current situation. I have sympathy for her, but I made it clear that I'm not interested in being her safety net or competing for their attention again. My life, and now my husband and daughter, are my priorities. As I spoke, pain and regret appeared on their faces. My mother quietly shed tears, and my father seemed to age rapidly as the conversation progressed. While I felt a twinge of guilt for causing them pain, I was relieved to have spoken these truths. The discussion ended with mixed emotions, and we decided to proceed cautiously. I mentioned that occasional phone calls would be fine, but I had no plans for direct meetings or introducing Nicole to them yet. I explained that understanding would take time and emphasized the importance of respecting the boundaries I set. Leaving the cafe, I felt a mix of sadness and relief. It wasn't the warm reconciliation people might expect, but honest dialogue was necessary. Walking to my car, I pondered for a while inside the vehicle. When I returned home, Ben was waiting and hugged me as soon as he saw me. We sat on the living room sofa, and I shared the day's events with him. He listened without judgment, offering comfort and support that night. Lying in bed, when Ben asked how I felt, I replied, "I'm not sure." I felt lighter, as if a long-carried burden had been lifted, yet I also experienced the pain of old wounds resurfacing. I'm in the process of sorting everything out and feel like I'm stepping toward healing, but the future still isn't clear. I'm aware of the difficulties and many challenges that still need to be overcome, but I feel that rebuilding some connection with my parents might be possible after a long time. A month has passed since the reunion with my parents. There have been a few phone calls, but the conversations were short and somewhat awkward. My mother is trying very hard, perhaps too hard. She contacts me more frequently than I would like, always asking about Nicole. Because of this, I had to set proper boundaries. I told her that she needs to meet certain conditions before she could truly be Nicole's grandmother. Last week, she called to talk about a toy she bought for Nicole for 20 minutes. I interrupted her, pointing out that it was inappropriate to make premature gifts when she hadn't even met Nicole yet. My mother seemed hurt by the remark, but I stood by my position. Conversations with my father, on the other hand, are more reserved, and our only discussion was stiff and tense. He struggles with his pride and finds it difficult to acknowledge years of misunderstandings. In our conversation, he primarily asked about my work, trying to understand the life I built on my own. However, an unexpected drama unfolded. My sister Vanessa reappeared. About 2 weeks after meeting my parents, I received a lengthy email from her. She apologized for her mistakes and asked for help. She regretted ruining my life with her actions and using our parents, wishing she had been a better sister. Reading the email brought back many memories. For example, the incident in high school when Vanessa used my car without permission and had an accident. At the time, my parents were angry but didn't hold Vanessa accountable, and they paid for the repairs. As a result, I had to take the bus to school for a month. Initially, I was moved by Vanessa's email. It seemed like a sincere attempt at reconciliation, but as I read on, her true intentions became clear. She was actually asking me for money. She was convinced that her new business plan, selling gourmet hot dogs from a food truck, would solve all her problems and was asking me for financial support. I felt angry. Even after all these years, she still saw me as just a money source. Her proposed business was abstract and immature, and I felt no lessons had been learned from her past failures. I didn't respond to the email, but instead I contacted our parents. The conversation was very tense. When I inquired about the email from Vanessa, they admitted they had actually encouraged her to contact me. They believed that by reconciling, our family would be reunited once again. At that moment, I couldn't maintain my composure anymore. I pointed out that their attempt at manipulation was the very reason I had resolved to raise Nicole on my own. I recalled how they had forgiven Vanessa's unforgivable actions, from cheating on tests in high school to being released after a DUI in her 20s. I emphasized that I had no intention of funding Vanessa's project, and the very thought that they would ask me after everything that had happened was hurtful. If this was their way of making amends, then they had a lot to learn about respect and boundaries. The call ended in the worst way possible. My mother was crying again, my father was defensive, and I was shaking with anger. I felt like all the progress we had made was being undone. After calming down, I had a deep conversation with Ben. He has always been a supportive presence, encouraging me throughout. When I needed it most, he provided clear insights. At this point, I felt that keeping a distance from my family was the best course of action. The trust I had hesitantly rebuilt seemed to have vanished, and I needed time to sort things out. While I felt disappointed and pained, there was also a part of me that felt relieved. This incident proved that my instincts had not been wrong. My family still did not truly understand the pain they had caused, and they were not respecting the boundaries I had set. This is a hard truth, but it is important right now. I am focusing on my own family. Ben and Nicole are the most important to me, and I am working to ensure that the issues with my parents and Vanessa do not threaten the happiness we have built. Last night, when I put Nicole to bed, she requested that I read The Giving Tree to her. As I read the story, I was reminded of how different my bond with her is compared to that with my parents. I want her to know the value of being loved unconditionally, not just for what she can provide. This morning, I sent a concise email to my parents requesting the time I needed. I told them I would reach out when I was ready. Furthermore, I made it clear that any future relationship would depend on their understanding of the distance I need and not using me as a means to resolve issues with Vanessa, but treating me as an equal member of the family. There has been no contact from them yet, and I don't know how they feel about the situation. On one hand, I feel a sense of peace, and on the other, I am concerned that they might have given up on reconciling. Currently, I am living my days peacefully. I've been busy at the hospital and recently celebrated Nicole's 3rd birthday with Ben. To keep moving forward in life, I've decided to focus on the brighter side and not dwell on the past. It has been 6 months since my last update, and I thought it was time to let you know about the current situation. There have been significant changes in my family and my way of thinking, especially regarding my parents and Vanessa. After the incident with Vanessa's email, I have kept my distance from them. I have continued to ignore calls and messages, instead focusing on my work and close family. The holiday period was particularly challenging, but it was necessary for maintaining my mental health. About 3 months ago, I received a handwritten letter from my father. Unlike digital communications, it brought back his familiar handwriting, reminding me of memorable birthday cards and notes from my childhood lunchboxes before Vanessa was born. The letter dramatically changed the situation. His actions were something I had not expected from him. In it, he offered a heartfelt apology. This apology acknowledged the biases he had shown towards Vanessa, the hurt he had caused me in the past, and various mistakes made in the attempt to reconcile. He did not try to justify himself or ask for anything, only expressed deep regret and a willingness to make amends. However, I decided to wait until I was ready to respond. He had taken a deep look at himself, and revealed how his insecurities had affected his behavior. He also admitted that he had been trying to achieve self-realization indirectly through Vanessa's athletic achievements, feeling that his professional life did not go well. He expressed pride in my academic achievements, yet admitted he had never known how to show it. The tone of his letter, handwritten and evidently more thoughtful than before, made me believe it was sincerely considered over time. As a result, our conversations became more frequent, and although sometimes awkward, they were decidedly more genuine than before. This marked a new beginning in rebuilding communication within our family. He started to show interest in my profession, and my family began to truly listen when I shared my daily experiences. This support has been incredibly encouraging, allowing me to share aspects of my daily life. Furthermore, he has recently become much more open about the difficulty of admitting his mistakes and the profound fear of potentially losing his child. This change indicates his growth and is a significant advancement in our relationship. When Nicole's birthday was approaching, he asked what he should give her. Instead of just giving permission, I suggested we enjoy the special moment together via a video call. The joy on his face when Nicole opened her toys was purely heartfelt. The Dr. playset he chose was unique, something I had never seen before, making it deeply meaningful for Nicole and all of us. The situation with my mother and Vanessa remains complicated. However, my mother has started to treat our relationship with more care, and her small acts and gestures indicate this change. For example, she occasionally sends emails with family recipes and old photos, linking past and present without burdening me. Meanwhile, Vanessa has begun treatment for her gambling addiction and has secured a stable job after a long period of instability. She hasn't contacted me directly yet, but this may be the best choice for her and our family at this moment. My father informed me that Vanessa has been actively attending Gamblers Anonymous meetings and has started repaying some of the debts she owes our parents. This too is a positive sign in her recovery process. These events have profoundly changed my outlook on life and how I respond to my family. We cannot change the past or completely control our family's actions, but I can choose how I respond to them. I've been consciously working to let go of long-held anger and grievances. It's not an easy process, and there are days when I can't feel any progress, but as past pains resurface, I strive to keep moving forward. Overcoming these challenges, I've come to appreciate my family anew. Ben has been a reliable support whether I need advice or just someone to listen. Helping Nicole understand more about her family is also becoming increasingly important as she grows. Last weekend, we enjoyed a picnic at a local park. Watching Ben play with Nicole on the swings, I savored a moment of peace that had been rare in recent times. No matter what happens with my parents or Vanessa, I have a family grounded in love, trust, and mutual respect. We live each day with care, without rush, yet without giving up on anything. In my life, Ben and Nicole are my greatest priorities, and I am also cautiously optimistic about healing some of the rifts that have formed with my parents. This journey has been incredibly challenging, but has taught me numerous lessons. I've learned much about forgiveness, setting boundaries, and the complexities of family relationships. Whatever happens next, I am confident that I am prepared to handle it appropriately.